Hello, welcome back to the channel. Now, familiar setup, I know. The last video you would have watched is basically how unfit am I. And as we saw, I've lost, if we're not including altitude, half a watt a day is the rate of loss. Now, the purpose of this video is to not debunk FTP, but just to say there's more to it. And what I want to try and highlight, I might fail at this reasonably scientific experiment, but what I want to debunk is your FTP can be different on different days, and it isn't the be all and end all. That's why zones have such a wide range as well, I think, is to cater for that. I'm going to do 4 tests over 4 days. You've seen the first one yesterday, and we're going to do today's one today, tomorrow's one tomorrow, and then a final one as well. Yesterday was optimal conditions, but unoptimal in terms of the preparation. First time on a bike in 3 months. Now today, the room's too hot. Like, there's no cooling. As you see, I'm not wearing the Sub-Zero kit, the door's not open, the room is at 26 degrees right now, and I've got no airflow either. So I'm going to do another round test, exactly the same as yesterday, same bike, same everything. I'm using the Turbo Trainers power meter. I've calibrated the power meter. We're going to see what the results are, and also just have a little look at what heart rate's doing and everything. What should happen today is FTP should be lower than yesterday because of the poor conditions, and I'll go into it later on. If it's higher, I can answer that question as well. It's needless to say, things are going to get real wet in here. You know what else is wet? Sharks. And that leads me into my sponsor for today's YouTube video.
Oh god, you're actually doing it. Okay. These are getting progressively worse. Can you just apologise to everyone for that?
I'm not apologising for any of my integration. I'm going to try and make them considerably worse as time goes on. But that leads me into this month's YouTube channel vlog sponsor, Surfshark. Now, for those of you watching for a while will know who Surfshark is. Surfshark is a virtual private network, otherwise known as a VPN. There are more than 4 reasons why you need a VPN, but here are 4. Number 1, it hides your IP address, so your city, country, and download history aren't linked to your identity. Number 2, it helps encrypt all of your data and keep it safe, like your credit card details, your personalised information, especially when you're on public Wi-Fi. If you do travel a lot, like I did, you're probably logging into like public Wi-Fi's, hotel Wi-Fi's, and what you can then do is change location, so you're not geo-blocked when you're watching Race Pass or Netflix or anything like that. It unlocks more than 15 Netflix libraries all around the world. Surfshark uses encryption to protect you against snooper and third-party advertisers, so your data isn't being sold on, and those pesky online dating pop-ups do not pop up. For this month, you get 3 months for free, 83% off after that, if and only if you use my code, which is DOWSET, all in capitals. Surfshark also offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there really is nothing to lose here. Everything you need is in the description below. So exactly the same protocol as yesterday, 5-minute warm-up. Yesterday I went pretty hard in the warm-up, so I'm going to go a bit easier in today's one, then straight into the ramp test. It's going to be a warm one. So another thing we're calling is fluids. Like, you see a lot of pros, what we did as a pro was slushies, and that would help maintain your core body temperature for longer. And we're doing none of that. I've got fluid in my bottle, we've got water, but it's pretty warm. We're going to get as far as we can go. Heart rate yesterday did not do what I was expecting it to do, so I'm not going to make any predictions for today. The thing is, with these tests, and the reason there's a possibility it might be higher, is you get better at doing the tests the more you do them. Early stages of the ramp, I was holding probably a little too much power, and then actually when it got to the grippy stages of the ramp, because I was having to push, I was also holding more power than I needed to. There was one, I think on the 400 watt stage, my average for that minute was 418, which is ultimately what the next stage with his power was. So I'm going to get better at these tests as well. Like I said on the last video, the most accurate way of doing an FTP test is with blood lactates and gas mask measuring oxygen in versus carbon dioxide out. We don't have that. We've got a room, a radiator, a bike and a power meter, and we're going to make do. Honestly, I'm already warm. I'm already not enjoying this, and how mentally comfortable you are, especially on a turbo trainer, is so important. I think that's going to have quite a profound impact on today, is just when mentally I cave, even if physically there was a little more left in the tank. If we're on the 220 watt stage, what a difference a day makes. I'm already feeling that I'm a bit out of breath. Yesterday wasn't quite touching the sides yet, I was just like sweating, which is not a surprise. And I think the heart rate is higher. Started higher. Started yesterday around in the early stages. Heart rate was low 90s. Here it was 10 beats higher, so we're already up. The Zwift's ramp test is good. I really enjoy it. Keeps you engaged with the text on the screen, talks you through it, and it's nice and short. I've heard of protein ramp tests being up to an hour long. Ain't nobody got time for that. Last time I'm going to talk. My cognitive function isn't good. I'm struggling to concentrate on the watts. Far more than yesterday. I'm around the average. So much more. 320 watts and the heart rate is just tipped over 150, which is, yeah. Anyway, that's enough for me. That's nice on my bum.
You're steaming.
Yeah. That's worse. So much worse than being 3 months off the bike, is being too hot. The room was 27 degrees by the end, which, you know, in today's climate, no one has their heating on for it to be that hot, but you know, for the purposes of basic science, that it goes to show. So I just caught View Zwift had my FTP at 302, I think. So that's and I got to the same heart rate as yesterday, 170. So that's a yeah, I can't even think properly. That was just yeah, that's a 16 watt loss in FTP through it being too hot. So now tomorrow's test. I hope you guys appreciate what I'm doing here in the name of science. Tomorrow we're gonna underfuel. So after today I am not gonna eat a single carbohydrate until tomorrow's ramp test. And we're gonna see what effect that has. It's not, obviously we're not gonna have it hot. We're gonna come back to the Sub-Zero kit and a cool room and some airflow, but I'm underfuel massively, so that would have depleted a lot of my glycogen stores, perhaps not all of them, but a lot of them, and then we're through making sure I eat nothing, just protein and fats before bed, really regimentedly. That should deplete everything that's left by the time we get to tomorrow, and we'll see how tomorrow goes. So, but yeah, Zwifting in suboptimal atmospheric conditions is, it's not fun, and I'm at altitude. No! Stop it, I'm cold enough as it is right now.
Okay, I promise I won't touch.
But...
I'm just gonna straighten up.
No!
What's happening today?
Right, today's FTP test, day 3, we're over the halfway mark, over the hurdle. I'm hoping the worst one is done. The worst one being yesterday. I was surprised actually how wildly unpleasant that was. Today's one is underfueled. So after yesterday's ride, I committed the cardinal sin of not having any kind of recovery within 30 minutes of the ride. Dinner was then leek and salmon with a cream cheese, bit of flavour, so 0 carbs, 0, I didn't even have a beer, like, at the end of the day. Such was my commitment to this scientific experiment. And then breakfast this morning was scrambled eggs and a black coffee. So today's FTP test, as I explained in yesterday's one, is underfueled. Haven't had a single carb between yesterday's. Now, partly because these efforts are really quite short, I think I've depleted all my glycogen stores. Big one was I weighed myself this morning, I was about 1.5 kilos lighter than I was yesterday morning. Everything should be depleted, and you know, I'm kind of expecting the first half of the ramp test to feel okay, because you know, there's an element of this that's specific to you, whether you're a fat burner or a carb burner, but when you get into that high intensity, it's carbs anyway. So I know I'm a bit of a hybrid from a previous test I did. I can utilize both energy sources. So we're going to do it underfueled today, see what happens. My prediction is it's not going to be as bad as yesterday's test, but I don't think it's going to be as good as the first day's test. And I'm hoping tomorrow's test is going to be the best one. That one, and then I want that one, and then I want that one, and I want that one. And where should we go today? 2015 Wilds course, because I rode that. Room conditions, yeah, like I said, underfueled, but we're back down to full cooling. So I've got the Sub-Zero kit on, I've got the fan on, windows open, temperature in the room is
17 degrees.
It's going to be, I reckon it's a bit less. I reckon by the end of the test we'll be down to 10 degrees again. And yeah, exactly the same as yesterday. I calibrate the turbo trainer each time. Yeah, here we go. So first real difference I can see from yesterday is just heart rate is much lower, back to where it was on day one in the lower powers. So it's in 90s rather than sort of yesterday in the heat. The heart rate started immediately over 100. So already we're seeing the difference, and I'm finding as well, this feels more familiar to the first day. Yesterday I said cognitive function went out the window, but now that I know the test, a little bit more comfortable relaxing into the powers and trying to go as easy as I can now. So I think I should be more efficient at the test this time around, even if fueling is suboptimal. Right, we're at 260 watts. And it's just kind of got hard all of a sudden, and I think might be that crossover from the body switching from fats to carbs, and well, there's not much there, so yeah, this is now harder than it was on day one. Like I said, I'm doing a better test. Float on like within the ranges far more efficiently than yesterday. So yeah. FTP 288. Yeah, that was a huge drop from the first day, even a huge drop from yesterday as well. It just crept up on me. It was like it almost, like knowing what's going on and comparing it to the last 2 days, I could feel it. It was like I just had no strength at all. Yeah. Once it got past 220 watts, I felt I was having to lean on the pedals a bit and push. And heart rate got to 164, which obviously isn't where we were at for the last 2 days. So, but it's like now I feel like I could, do that low intensity stuff again. It's like my body just was not letting me do the high intensity stuff, which is absolutely in line with if I've underfueled in training or racing, I can cruise along. I just can't go hard, and that was very reflective today. So honestly, that was lower than I expected, but it kind of explains a lot as well, or it reinforces a lot of what I was thinking. Tomorrow is going to be super interesting. There's a few, obviously, we're going to be cooled, we're going to be very well fueled. I'm going to be, like, I know how to have done the test now, and I think there's also going to be like a stimulus in place where my body is, and remembering that we're a bike rider again, that we know what to do here. So the only thing that might not work in my favour is like fatigue, perhaps. Like fatigue, maybe leaving it a day and then doing tomorrow's test would be the solution. That's not what I wrote in the title or the description, so tomorrow we're going to do the test. Well, it's going to be interesting. At this point, I'm struggling to predict how it's going to go. I hope it's going to be the highest one of all of them, but I've been wrong in the past, and you know, I'm at altitude, so. So, final ramp test, thank heavens. Today, I'm hoping that this is going to be the best one. The reason it might not be is a little bit of fatigue, just from yesterday being such a low carb day that I haven't quite managed to replenish everything, but I think I had a huge pasta lunch, huge pasta dinner, plenty to eat this morning for breakfast, so I think I should, and I weighed myself as well, 2.5 kilos up from where I was this time yesterday morning, so I'm hoping we're fully replenished. Yeah, full cooling, optimal conditions. This is another thing that's going on here as well, which is I'm on 175 cranks, which I've not ridden for a very long time. Perhaps my body's just got used to them a little bit more as well. So I'm hoping this is going to be the best test yet. I was shocked at how bad I was underfueled. I honestly thought the high heat was going to be the worst, but it seems underfueling is the biggest culprit to an FTP test. You know, in that last aspect, perhaps a little bit of training, because 3 days of 20 to 30 minute ride a day, it's not too much, it's not nothing, and I know the test now. I know the test. I'll be able to keep my effort under control and really just focus on doing a good test to see how that's affected what Zwift gives. The Zwift FTP test is pretty good, I reckon. I think it's alright. It's not long. Yeah, you gotta take it with a pinch of salt because you haven't, you know, we're not doing it in a lab, and I think hopefully what this video is showing, that as long as you do the same FTP test, you'll get a gauge, but it just isn't the be all and end all, and I think that's what we've got to, that's what I want to try and get across, is FTP is external factors and, well, different FTP tests. A bit like a wind tunnel. Different wind tunnels will give you a different CDA. Different FTP test methods are going to give you a different FTP as well. So yeah, we're going to see how today goes. So early stages to the test, already noticeable difference. I went to the 160, 180 watt, heart rate is still below 100. In the first 2 minutes it was below 90, in the low 80s. And if those of you remember the first test, that's, even there is a remarkable difference. Still very early days, but already signs are good. Go 360, heart rate's 146. It's hurting now. It is hurting. I think there's more in me. So I start talking.
Go on, lad. Come on. What's the result?
So, 2 watts less than the first day, so I call that the same, which, yeah, I mean, it tells us a lot. It tells us that I spent the last 15 years being a pro bike rider. I don't forget how to do these things and manage my effort, but I know that was a better test than the first day, just in terms of being bang on the minutes each time. I didn't know that was the case, so I think fatigue has played a part there. I think perhaps having the low carb day still, maybe not quite on top of things after that. So I guess that's the end of this video. But I might do this after 3 or 4 days easy and see where we're at. We'll report back, whether it be in another video or in the description below, I don't know. Heart rate didn't quite get to 170, it's like 166 or something, and that's all I had. That's all I had. That's hard. That's really hard. In conclusion, fresh gives you, I think, the best bang for buck. Not 3 months fresh, but certainly making sure that you've had a rest. But you might need a bit of load in there. Heated, you're going to see, what's that, a couple of 2 or 3% drop. Under fueled, you're going to see a far bigger drop. Being able to do the test, being better at it, and ready to go. I think that the 4th test tells us a lot, just by being the same, more or less, than the 1st test. I've got better at it, but I also am a little bit fatigued from the test. So anyway, thanks for watching our little science experiment. The next one I'm going to do is altitude versus sea level, to really get to the bottom of just what I was dealing with up here. That's going to be in a couple of months' time, so keep an eye out. I'm going to try and keep the protocols the same, except doing one up here at 2,000 meters and then one down at, well, about 10 meters. But same bike, same turbo trainer, same everything. But I'll train in between now and then, so I'm hoping the sea level number will be higher. The altitude number will be higher. The sea level number will be significantly higher. Thanks for watching, thanks to Surfshark, and see you next time.